Behold, the only way to ask enemies to be your Valentine. Cernos Prime, Buffed Edition. Now with 100% more lethality. Remember, if a weapon has stats, you should always build for them. This weapon has good critical and status on both ways you can fire it, more on that in a second, so we're using a hybrid build with Hunter Munitions. This weapon's unique characteristic is that it creates multiple arrows with every trigger pull, and that is also still affected by multi-shot. The damage is divided among the arrows. Previously, the weapon was held back by the fact that you could not hit one enemy with all of your arrows reliably without using the weapon like a shotgun, and having a shotgun that you need to charge up before you fire is not always so great when enemies are right in your face. However, now you can switch to a vertical firing mode by hitting the alternate fire button. Ooh baby, all shots on target now. Because this weapon does not have high base slash damage, you are relying on RNG a little bit when you fire at enemies, because you're going to kill them with Hunter Munitions procs and viral procs. If you don't get one of those things, you can see that sometimes the variance in time to kill is rather high. I killed that same gunner in one shot at the beginning of the video, while the bombard died in 2 shots at the beginning of the video, and that last time died in 1. Even so, after my analysis, this is the strongest overall build that will usually kill heavy targets at even very high levels in just a few shots. This build is rather similar to my Gambler's Vectis Prime, which you can check out in the description. Both weapons function on some amount of RNG, but can still kill targets faster than other builds overall. You're just not exactly sure how fast that will be. I'd like to point out an idiosyncrasy of this weapon, as well as the Detron and the Mara Detron. These weapons had their status chance increased in the recent balance update, but for some reason they still cannot reach 100% status. As I add dual stat mods, the weapon gains less and less status chance from each additional dual stat mod. For some reason, projectile shotguns, which this weapon supposedly counts as, do not gain the same amount of status chance with each additional status mod. I can't imagine that this is intentional, so look out for it to be changed in the future, although in the case of the Cernos Prime, I do not think it would be good to make an 100% status build, even if it were possible. Remember that unlike most shotguns that are true shotguns, the Cernos Prime, while it may be coded like one, does not have very many projectiles, so even forcing all of them to get a status proc every shot would not be as much more powerful as it is on some shotguns. Additionally, again, you need to keep in mind those damage types. We have mostly impact, so additional status effects are not as valuable as they would be on a slash-based weapon. The Mara Detron is a different story. If they fix that weird status thing, definitely build this for 100% status. This is only one of the many weapons that got buffed in the recent balance update. I've already made a video talking about general hybrid builds, which is what you're going to want to build lots of the newly buffed weapons for. They pretty much just buff things by adding critical and status to them, so the way that you're going to build a lot of the newly buffed weapons is very similar, which is why I have not made a video on each individual weapon. But there are some weapons, like the Cernos Prime here, which seem very complicated, but it actually turns out that their optimal build is rather simple. But then there are weapons like the Staticore, which seemed to get a straightforward buff, but it's actually a little bit complicated whether it is worth building differently given that buff. And I'll be talking about those cases in the coming weeks. Wait a sec. What do you mean I'm late for Valentine's Day? Oh, I forgot to get you all something. Alright, here you go. So there's currently a bug with the Cernos Prime. When you apply the skin in a mission, it only applies to the firing mode that is currently active on the Cernos Prime. This means that if you have horizontal spread active, it will only work on the horizontal spread for the rest of that application, and you cannot swap to the vertical spread, apply it again, and get the result. You have to be on vertical spread when you apply the skin for it to work with the vertical spread. That's really annoying, but that's how it works. Thank you all very much for watching. Subscribe if you had a good time, and check me out elsewhere on the internet in the description of this video. I'll hope to see you all next time.